The Shark Deck.
Hello and welcome to Palace Intrigue. I am your host, Mark Francis. The Guardian reports Prince Harry has claimed members of the royal family struck a secret deal with newspapers not to sue them over phone hacking because it would open a can of worms. In documents filed to the High Court, Harry claimed there was in place an agreement between the institution and NGN that we would not engage or even discuss the possibility of bringing claims against NGN until the litigation against it relating to phone hacking was over. The institution made it clear that we did not need to know anything about phone hacking, and it was made clear to me that the royal family did not sit in the witness box because that could open up a can of worms. The institution was without a doubt withholding information from me for a long time about NGN's phone hacking, and that has only become clear in recent years as I have pursued my own claim with different legal advice and representation. In the witness statement, Harry added, "I am bringing this claim because I love my country and I remain deeply concerned by the unchecked power, influence, and criminality of Associated. The evidence I have seen shows that Associated's journalists are criminals with journalistic powers which should concern every single one of us. The British public deserve to know the full extent of this cover-up, and I feel it is my duty to expose it." He cited an article about a little-known girlfriend from his Eton days, Laura Gerard Lee. It led to Laura's parents being doorstepped, which they were understandably not pleased about. This sort of thing caused me to try to keep matters as private as I could to avoid this happening. Newsweek took a look at the timeline of recent Harry-related events. Newsweek points out Harry's accusation that the institution did a deal with Rupert Murdoch's media empire to not sue for phone hacking only became public on March 28th, but was signed weeks earlier. The timeline means Harry knew there was a chance his latest broadside against the palace would become public knowledge, even as his office announced that Charles had invited him to the coronation and when revealing his children had royal titles. On February 24th, Harry signed the witness statement. On February 28th, the story of the eviction from Frogmore surfaced. March 3rd, the secret christening. March 5th, news of the coronation invite. Then on March 8th, the revelation of Harry and Meghan's children using prince and princess titles. Piers Morgan finds Harry to be rather confused. He has made his own privacy a ruthless public commodity, trading in his secrets and those of his family and his friends, and sometimes even the people he has lost his virginity to in the highest bidders. How much public destruction can a public figure get away with before they abrogate their right to privacy? Even fair-minded neighbouring networks have woken up and smelled the hypocritical coffee. What he cannot control is a free press, and yet a free press, warts and all, good, bad, and ugly, is the very cornerstone of a democracy. That's why Harry, who wants complete control over everything that's said and written about him, is so afraid about free press. Royal columnist Diana Elsa weighed in, "Harry and his wife Meghan might have spent the last 2 years waging an exhausting, never-ending battle of wits and PR strategy against the firm, but they have actually ended up on the losing side." On the other side of all of this, after about 40 hours, according to the Washington Post, of interviews and various media outings, after 416 pages of a book and one entire far-too-long docuseries, one thing is clear: the royal family is fine. Palace Intrigue will be right back. With King Charles visiting Germany, DW.com took a look at just how German the British monarchy is. Their history lesson. On August 1st, 1714, England's Queen Anne died. As a result, the German elector George Louis of Hanover was proclaimed King of Great Britain in absentia. He was the only possible heir to the throne and the first German to ascend an English throne. At the beginning, his British subjects were not amused. The German king did not set foot on English soil until 2 months after his proclamation and was crowned King George I on October 20th, 1714. A divorced man, he publicly flirted with 2 mistresses. It was claimed that George hardly spoke any English, though some historians have disputed this, suspecting it was a ploy used in some ministerial meetings, and he had no manners. In fact, legend has it a protocol instruction for banquets asked for people not to hurl pieces of meat at the servants. Skipping ahead past a few more Kings George, in 1837, George IV's niece Victoria, who also had a partly German bloodline, was crowned. She married her cousin, the German Prince Albert of Saxe-Coburg and Gotha. Initially, the British wondered why their own queen would choose a provincial German prince, but they soon changed their minds. Albert allegedly initiated in England the German custom of putting up Christmas trees. He established the first World's Fair in London in 1851, while also reforming administration and construction throughout the kingdom. We'll skip over the awkward relationship between Edward VIII and Hitler and get to Queen Elizabeth's husband Philip. The prince had predominantly German ancestors and spoke fluent German. In 1947, he became a British citizen and, shortly before his marriage to Elizabeth, relinquished his German title of nobility and called himself only Mountbatten. In the end, King Charles III has a bloodline made up of roughly half German ancestors. But what would an episode of Palace Intrigue be without somehow tying this back to Meghan? DW.com writes, Meghan Markle's father, Thomas Markle's lineage has been linked to Germany and Switzerland. Last year, Bunt magazine claimed that a Johann Markle left his hometown of Offenburg in Baden-Württemberg in the late 18th century and moved to Pennsylvania. However, a new DW investigation has revealed that Markle's ancestors might have actually come from Lamperschluck, a small commune in France situated close to the German border. According to records, Meghan's forefather, Heinrich Martin Merkel, emigrated to the US and later changed the spelling of his name. And there you have it. If you'd like to email us, our address is thepalaceintrigue@gmail.com. Please follow us on Spotify, iTunes, Google Podcasts, wherever you get your favorite shows. I'm Mark Francis. My thanks to John McDermott. This is Palace Intrigue. Good times.